Hi there, I hope you can hear me all right. I guess we can just go ahead and start with today's event. My name is Ula Adamska, and I'm a Lighthouse coordinator at UWC Atlantic. Welcome to this special InTouch event, organized in collaboration with the Lighthouse team at the college and the Yunus Center, and featuring Nobel Prize Laureate Professor Muhammad Yunus. Today's event title is Dimensions of Meaningful Changemaking, and I'm thrilled to see so many of you joining us. This event will last approximately 75 minutes. During the session, we will hear from our special guest, Professor Muhammad Yunus. Then there will be time for questions and answers, followed up by a brief presentation of Lighthouse, the new Center for Meaningful Changemaking on UWC Atlantic campus. Before we begin today's event, please can you rename yourselves on the screen so we can see your name and your affiliation to the college. If you are a student or alum, please add your graduation year. Please can you also keep yourself muted throughout the event. There will be 2 Q&A sessions at the end when you're more than welcome to unmute yourselves to ask any questions you might have. If you have any questions throughout the conversation, please feel free to type them in the chat box. The Q&A sessions will be moderated by Elze and Oscar, our second-year students at the college and project leaders at Lighthouse. Now I'm going to let Peter Howe, our principal, say a few words of welcome.
Thank you, Ula, and I won't take too much time because the students really are the stars along with Professor Yunus. But Professor Yunus, I did want to take the opportunity to say what an honor it is for us at UWC Atlantic to have you join us. For my generation, you are one of the heroic and inspirational figures of history. I began teaching economics in 1997, which is short. Your book came out a few years later, and it was at the heart of my development economics curriculum. And the idea that you could tackle such a profound problem as poverty in the way that you did just changed so many lives, obviously in practical terms, but also in what is possible. And I'd like to believe that UWC is also a social enterprise and taking on the challenges of the world. And rather than saying it's impossible to solve these problems, coming up with ways to make it work. And we want our students to graduate with the mindset and skill set of a social entrepreneur. And that's what's at the heart of the Lighthouse initiative, which I hope you'll hear more about. But knowing that my greatest success at UWC is always handing it over to students and allowing them to lead, I will do that by introducing Tori Shen, who I had the privilege of supervising her economics extended essay. And she was fascinated by microfinance and the Grameen Bank, and in fact, went back home to China to research its impact there. So I'll hand it over to Tori to introduce you as well.
Hi, I'm Tori. I'm a second-year student at UWC Atlantic. The speaker that I'm introducing is a Nobel Prize Laureate who was nominated for the bank that he created in Bangladesh and then expanded to the world. The nominations, however, were not of economics, but of peace, for the significant contributions that the bank made to change the life of millions under the poverty line. I was extremely lucky to have read about the Grameen Bank earlier this summer and decided to challenge myself in my extended essay with investigations into its newly founded branches in China. During my research, I was overwhelmed with its achievements as a profit-gaining business, a poverty-lifting mechanism, and also a powerful combat against gender inequality. In specific, its inspirational, unique approaches at the local development of China. And thus, I'm beyond thrilled to be able to introduce to you Professor Muhammad Yunus.
Thank you, Tori, and thank you, Peter. It's wonderful to be with you this evening and for you afternoon. And I'm particularly very happy that you started with talking about me as in a personal way, not just as someone at a distance, because something you read about, it made sense to you and pursued those things in your career, in your life. So that makes me very, very happy. I'm in the right crowd that I say that the sharing my thoughts. It's not a lecture in that sense. I'm just talking about sharing my experiences as I went through. Since you have gone through also, I thought this would be more appropriate that way rather than speak on a particular issue. And I understand the theme and understand the philosophy behind your educational process for the Atlantic, and the Lighthouse itself is a very important process. Just to begin, I would say life has a strange way in dealing with individuals. You plan from the childhood, you want to be doing this or to do that, and so on and so forth. And you come to your adulthood when you start life, suddenly you're shifted away from everything you ever thought, something you never thought of. And you jumped into it, and that's it. And you gradually go deeper and deeper into it. Things that you thought it's far removed from your mind, that's what you get involved with. And that's what exactly happened to me. I don't know in how many other cases it happens. I never thought I will ever become quote unquote banker. That's not the image I have for myself. And I wanted to be a teacher. That's what I enjoyed, that's what I respected. And that's what I became actually. And that's why I was teaching in the university and so on. But teaching in the States, United States, where I was teaching, is one thing. Then I, in Bangladesh, became independent in 1971 after the terrible liberation war. And I immediately quit my job in the United States, in Middle Tennessee State University, and rushed back to Bangladesh, to be in Bangladesh, to see how to make things happen now. Now that it's a free country, it's an independent country, all the excitement. But all our excitement turned into nightmares. Things that we thought will happen didn't happen. Things we never thought will happen start happening. Economy started going down. Bangladesh was built as the poorest country in the world. That's kind of the level that we had. Even we were told we are a basket case. We have no chance at all. That's the country. But it got worse than that. We thought you'd never go beyond that, but we had a famine in 1974. And here I am teaching elegant theories of economics in the classroom, as you see in the classroom, a beautiful campus at the university that I was teaching. And I couldn't believe that people can be of that situation in misery and destitution. And we are talking about things which has no relevance whatsoever with the life of the people around the campus. So I said, if university, their knowledge, the global knowledge they're supposed to have, didn't spill over to the people who live next door, that cannot be an university. That knowledge has to have some meaning to people. So I thought that I shouldn't pursue this subject, which made me totally useless. That's the word that I had in mind. I'm a useless person. I have no use for anybody else around me. So I was very discouraged.
Charlotte est en train de regarder Amour. Ok, mets-toi sur le sofa.
Pardon me, there's some talk in the middle. Okay, we continue. Can you hear me? It's okay? All right, good. So this continued, and I tried to see if I can find my usefulness. So I thought, why don't I go to the people who live just next to me, my neighbors, find out what's the reality of their life. Can I be useful to one person, even for a day? Then I saw, I would think as a human being, I have some use for somebody else. Otherwise, it's a meaningless life. So I started doing that. That's what bringing me to the reality of life. Suddenly, I started learning things. I said, this village is my university. For the first time, I'm in the real university. I'm seeing real people, real problems, real struggle. And that's what I want to be part of, not just sitting at a distance and watching them and preaching things which I never had any experience of. So I wanted to be part of that. And I did a lot of tiny, tiny, tiny things. And in the process, I became very intimate with the people. People love me, I love them. I know things in a very precise way, in a family, details, and so on. Then I saw the loan sharking in the village. And I see the victims, how terrible those loan sharking practices are. It grabs everything from you. You are totally removed from anything, any possession from yourself. So I said, such a terrible thing. And economics never taught me anything about loan sharking. And it's happened right here. And I'm supposed to be the head of the Department of Economics. I had no clue whatsoever what I can do. So again, I feel frustrated that I wasted my time learning economics. I said I could have done better if I came to the village first. Then the idea was how to protect these people who are the victims. So one simple idea came to my mind. Why don't I lend the money myself? If I lend the money, they don't have to go to anybody. Then they'll be free. I'm protecting that person by giving them the money. And the money involved is so small. It's $1, $2, $3, nothing more than that. So I said, I can afford it because I still have pocket full of money bringing from the USA where I was teaching. So I continued it there, and people loved it. They started taking the money. I said, all you have to do is just pay the money back to me. That's all. Whenever you can. I'm not pushing you, pressuring you. The more you give me back, the more I can give you back. That's all. This money is not going to disappear for you. They liked that. And it became very popular. In the meantime, I got into trouble with the bankers. I started accusing the bankers. I said, the whole banking is designed in a wrong way. I said, bank is supposed to lend money to people, and they lend money to people who already have lots of money. And they don't lend money to people who don't have money. This is very strange. It's a totally illogical thing. You should be lending money to people who don't have money. And after you exhaust them, then you go someplace else. They said, no, that's not how it works. They said they cannot lend money to poor people because they are not creditworthy. It made me furious. I said, is this the right way to kind of explain the situation? I said, the right way to explain the situation should be banks are not people worthy. It's not about people are not being bank worthy. It's just the reverse of it. So you have to become bank has to become people worthy. Then it becomes so. So he created this thing, and it's a long story. You may have read it about it. Then I started putting it, expanding, created bank, community bank, village bank. And I was thrilled by doing that. And people asked me, how did you design this bank? These intricate little details that you put into it. I thought about it, what should I say? Then I said something. I said, look, I don't know anything about banking. I never took any course in banking. So I have no idea in a formal sense. I just look at, I can open a bank account, that's about it. So I said, whenever I needed a policy or a system, a procedure, I look at the conventional banks, how they do it. Once I learned how they do it, I just do the opposite. Every time I did it, it worked. And it worked for the poor people. That's it. I said, this is the trick. All you have to do is to do the reverse. And ever since, all my life, I'm doing things in a reverse way. And it will always work. I'll tell you in a quick way how I did that. So I said, banks go to the rich people. That's the conventional way. Richer you are, more attractive you are. I reversed that principle. I said, poorer you are, more attractive you are. If you're the poorest, you get our highest priority. We get excited. We found somebody poorest and try to see how we can help you with the finance and so on. And they want collateral. Something, bank cannot lend money to you or in any banking practices without collateral. I said, forget about collateral. If you put collateral, poor people are not in the picture. Collateral, I said, is a wall from the money to the people. And the people needed the money. I said, people are entrepreneurs. They want to do things. They have the skills, but the economists don't recognize them. Economists call them informal sector. So they have to struggle daily wage and all kinds of things, or daily income by selling things, making things, laboring for other people. I said, no, this is their entrepreneurial activity. Nobody's helping them. They are surviving by themselves, their own skill. Instead of recognizing them, you condemn them by telling them informal sector. Informal sector is a condemnation that you have nothing to do with us. Unless you come to the formal sector, you get a job, you get a salary, then you're a formal sector. Then we can deal with you. So you have to line up to get into the formal sector. Until then, you're nobody. I said, no, that's not true. They are the real people. This should be removed. The title of the informal sector should be removed. It should be called micro-entrepreneurial sector. Then suddenly everything works out. If it is micro-entrepreneurial sector, then you need to have the finance. I says finance is the fuel of entrepreneurship. It's an oxygen of entrepreneurship. If you cannot provide that fuel, entrepreneurship cannot grow. I said all human beings are born as entrepreneurs. Economics made them work for somebody else. They said everybody has to have a job. Ever since I'm struggling to convince everybody that job is not the destiny of human beings. Human beings' destiny is entrepreneurial destiny, creativity destiny, something to be contributing to things. All human beings are packed with unlimited creative power. Every single human being, whether he or she is born on the street or she born in the palace of a king, same creative capacity. Simply society made them at a different level, that's all. But the creative capacity is the same. Unfortunately, some people get an opportunity to discover some part of the creativity, others never found it. I said, poverty is not created by poor people. Poverty is created by the system that we built. And I have been pursuing that point over and over again. I said, if you fix the system, I can guarantee you, nobody in the world would remain poor because you have pushed them into it. I even described them as a bonsai. You know the bonsai, the tree with the little seed that you get from a tall tree, and you plant it in a flower pot. It grows a little, and you call it bonsai. I said, poor people are bonsai people. There's nothing wrong with your seed. Simply, you never gave them the space to grow as tall as everybody else. System never gave them the base on which to grow. Like in bonsai tree, you never gave the base, you get a flower pot. So it grew only little. If you gave the real soil, there would be growth. So poor people never got the real soil. So they become stunted. This is a stunted human beings, not the real human beings, bonsai people. I said, that's what you have to address to do that. So in the process, what I did, as I was working with the poor people, I confront many of their problems. I started creating one after another business to solve them. First, I tried to solve the problem of toilets. So I created a toilet company so that you buy a toilet and set up a toilet for you, and a bank gives you the loan to buy the toilet, and you pay the loan, very tiny amount needed, pay the loan for the entire lifetime. So a very tiny amount, so that you don't even care what you're paying. It's such a small amount, but gradually it gets paid back. So all we wanted to say is you cover the cost and the company can continue. Then we created the health company to provide healthcare, because poor people don't have healthcare. Still around the world, healthcare is a rare subject for the poor people. So I created a healthcare program, one after another, it's a series of them, all as a business to cover the cost, not to make money for anybody. Then I created solar energy company, became a nationwide company to bring solar energy in the villages and so on. It still is expanding in many different. Now we are producing our own solar panel in Bangladesh and so on. So this is another one. Then people say, what kind of business of this? You're only covering cost. You don't want to make money. I said, no, I don't want to make money. I said, is there a law in Bangladesh that if you don't take your profit out of your business, you'll be jailed for that? I said, I just don't want to take the money. It's my decision. So all I want to do is to solve the problem in a sustainable way, in a business way. So I had to create a name for it. I call it social business. Social business is a non-dividend company to solve human problems. And it became popular, it's spreading in many countries and so on. So social business, something came up. And now the pandemic time, we're right now in the pandemic period, this issue became stronger and stronger. When you saw lots of people lost their livelihood because of that, and they're pushed down, not only millions and millions, maybe even touching 2 billion people who lost their livelihoods and so on. Very, very terrible situation for them. I said, look, what happened to them? Why it happened to them? Because they were working, but there's no financing for them. So the moment it's stopped, the whole business stopped. They had nothing to fall into. I said, all you need to do is to create a financial system which will concentrate on the like Grameen Bank. I said, the microcredit is a good idea, it's spread, but sometimes it got deviated from the real issue. I said, we created Grameen Bank as a social business, not to make money for anybody. So, but people took this idea, some people took this idea to bring microcredit to the poor people to make money for themselves. I said, that's the wrong time. We didn't want to make money for them. I said, what we have to do now, create micro-entrepreneurial banks. And I'll call it social business micro-entrepreneurial banks. If you create social business micro-entrepreneurial banks, they will not have any uncertainty. They know there's a financing organizations waiting for them. They're not the victims of the loan sharks and so on. So this is one idea that continued. And the other idea about the pandemic, which hit me very hard, that everybody is trying to go back to the pre-pandemic situation. Everything is so rosy before the pandemic. Why don't we go back? Let's go back as soon as possible. This lockdown is no good. And we have to get through the lockdown so that we can go back. And governments are trying to push hard to get the whole economy back to the pre-pandemic situation. I keep screaming, please don't go back. Because that world was not a good world. This was a terrible world. We don't want to go back. If you have a chance that we got a chance now not to go back. I said, now the decision should be no going back. It should be very bold decision. We don't want to go back to the world that we are coming from. Why? Because that world is in the suicidal path. We are committing suicide. Why? Global warming is one. Global warming has gave us a time, how much time we're left in this planet. And the planet will be soon unlivable for human beings. They are calculating and telling us the date every day, when it will end. So countdown has begun. Simply we don't recognizing it. I said, our house is burning every day and it's getting worse than before. But inside the house, we are having a party. We don't recognize that house is burning. This is what's happening to us. We know the house is burning. It's not that we are ignorant about it. We know, but we don't want to recognize it. Why? Because we are addicted to our lifestyle. We don't want to give it away. So we just say a few words about it and move on with our party, GDP growth, and all the things that we have been taught in the classrooms about the prosperity and so on. I said, what is the prosperity when you have no house at all? Inside that house, everything will be done, and you're contributing to that fire itself. By enjoying yourself, you're always contributing to that fire. So that the fire can become faster and faster, bigger and bigger, and finish you. I said, today, human being is the most endangered species on this planet. Nobody wants to talk about it. It is endangered species. So why do we go back to that suicidal path to make me extinct? Why don't we, now that we got a chance, now the train of the business world has stopped, let's get a new train. This train is useless. This train is no-go train. We have to build a new train. I said, if you are going to the old destination, like the death path that we are on, you can take the old path. But if you want to take to the new destination, you have to build a new path. And that's the challenge of the education system. That's where everything has happened. That's where education system has to teach that we are not job seekers. We are born as entrepreneurs. We don't bow our head to anybody. We are a free being. We are not destined to say that, okay, I take orders, I'm the best way to serve you. And we don't serve anybody except ourselves to make sure that we do. Why we do that? We want to do the things that we dream of. Not because somebody else dreams it and we make that dream true for them, not for me. I only kind of a hired gun. I only work for him because he pays me salary or something. I don't want to be hired gun. I want to be myself. So this is the direction. So all young people should be taught in schools that, look, you have two choices. You can be a job seeker, you can be an entrepreneur. If you are a job seeker, here's the track. You follow this track and it will take you to the job seeking opportunities and so on. If you want to be an entrepreneur, here's the track. Give them a choice. Why did you give them a choice? I said, every child from childhood in the home, the mothers and the parents will be telling boys and girls that as you grow up, you have two choices. You can be an entrepreneur, it can be a job seeker. And then you make a choice what you want. You want to be a free person? I said, job, always remember, job is the end of creativity. The moment you accept a job, your creativity is finished. You have surrendered your creativity. Creativity and job doesn't go together. So I want to be creative. I want to have that advantage of enormous creativity that I have inside of me. That's what I want to do. So this is the direction that I want to be. And the second one that the pandemic has shown and made us aware very much, wealth concentration, because of the way that all the billion people have lost their opportunities of life, etc. I said, this extreme, it's not a concentration of wealth, it's ugly concentration of wealth, obscene concentration of wealth. All the wealth is out there with the rich people, a handful of rich people. 1% of the population of the entire world holds 99% of the wealth of the entire world. How ugly can you get? 99% of the population of the world has to do with 1%. And tomorrow, it will be worse because its gap is becoming wider and wider every day. During the pandemic time, while billions of people lost their income and got into hardships, if you're not even absolutely on the path of hunger, you lost your opportunities because you had a very low level of income. But during that time, rich people made billions of dollars. When you're going stock market going up and everybody is excited, our economy is picking up. For whom? For only a handful of people. Is this the economy you're talking about? And then comes the artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence coming in a big way, and artificial intelligence will take away all our livelihoods of any kind because machines work better than human beings. That's the whole theme behind the artificial intelligence. So that process will remove us from everything, not only on the workshop, not only from the factories, not only on the businesses, it's in the universities, or if you are a singer, they'll be better singer. If you're a writer, they'll be better writer. What do you say? They will be better because they can do better than human beings. So what is our place? I said, we'll become very soon garbage on the planet. We have no use, just thrown out as a garbage. And why should anybody tolerate garbage? Someday artificial intelligence will call up their pest control department So to get this out from this mess we have in this planet. Maybe that's the direction we're going. I said, so we don't want to go there. We want to go to a new direction, create a new life, new world for ourselves. That's what students in the universities like you will be talking about. What will be the new world? What will be the design of the new world? That designing the new world is the essence of education. How do we design it? What is the purpose of our life? What do we do in our life? That will be the core of the education system. Not just getting a grade in A, B, C, D, history, geography or something, chemistry or something. The basic thing is, who am I? What am I doing on this planet? What is my purpose? What do I do during this short period that I will be here? And I have to debate, discuss, understand before I can pick up other knowledge and everything else. Those knowledge can wait because we can pick it up anytime we want. But this we have to do as we go up, so that we are ready. By the time we are ready, we can go jump it up, because we want to make this, we want to put our signature in this planet that I was here for this short period of time and I did this. And I feel good that I did this, what I wanted to do. That's it. So I'll stop here and let you take it from there and see how you want to lead the discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for such an inspiring talk. I'm sure everyone thoroughly enjoyed this time. I found it really interesting. And now we'll move on to the Q&A session. Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you, no problem.
So we would like to invite the audience to just write any questions they have in the chat, and we will read them out, and we will invite you to read them out. Please keep your questions as concise as possible, as we are very aware of the limited time we have. We will start with Tanya's question. Tanya 84.
Thank you. Thank you for organizing this, everyone who was behind organizing it, really admirable. And an absolute honor to hear you talk, Professor Yunus. So thank you very much for that very inspiring talk. Oh, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Sorry, suddenly realized the mic was in the air. Okay, so I'm not an economist, and so my story comes from a very layperson's perspective. I was very struck how you said that humans are driven to be entrepreneurs, but you also say that poverty is created by the system, and that really struck me, because the entrepreneurial route that you've given to these individuals, which is a fabulous opportunity for empowerment and a key to sort of eliminating poverty in their own lives. I was wondering, even though it's empowering those people, do you think that it's addressing unequal power relations that you alluded to, this extremes and in wealth distribution? Because it sounds a little bit like social mobility, you know, going up the ladder. And I just wondered how to address that unequal power relation. And the reason I ask that is I kind of think of there's social empowerment and there's economic empowerment. And I wondered if these two were something that you marry in your theory, because I think what my concern was that if you have empowerment that's based on rational economic actors, is that addressing the structural inequalities that exist in a system that creates poverty, especially when you look at issues of identity, self-determination, you know, capacity building in people who've been underpinned by oppression for centuries. So I just wondered if you could talk to that idea of defining empowerment and what it means from a social and an economic point of view. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'll just be quick, hitting at the point that you raised. One, I was talking about the entrepreneurship. At the same time, I was talking about the wealth concentration. And I was bringing in the middle the entire financial system. I said financial system is designed wrong because they are made to focus on the principle. The more you have, the more you get. That's their principle. So if you redesign that financial system in a different way, the poorer you are, highest priority you get. See? And it can be done. That's why all this story I was telling, that it's not something that it cannot be done. Oh, no, it cannot be done. Of course it can be done. So the core of the wealth concentration is financial system. because that's the way it goes. They keep running with the winner. They don't wait for the others behind them. So this is one part. We can elaborate on that. The second part, I mentioned about the entrepreneurship. You picked it up. I said yes, and some you didn't mention it, but usually it comes out. Not everybody is born to be an entrepreneur. So these are special people in entrepreneur. I said that myth has been dismissed long back. Like in microcredit in Grameen Bank, we lend the money to the poorest people. Not only poorest people, poorest women in the rural areas. No education whatsoever. She cannot even read and write. And these are the women who takes this loan and makes it happen. And millions of them in Bangladesh now, God knows, 20 million or something already they got. And other countries, including the United States and Brazil and all over Europe, for example, this including UK, those microcredit programs are there. The point I want to make, it's not rare the way it's emerging. Because if the illiterate woman in the remote village in Bangladesh, which was at the time the poorest country in the world, if she can take $10, $20, $50 loan and turn herself into an entrepreneur and continue with it, and millions of them. So it's not a rare thing, it's a common thing. If millions of them can do, without any exception. So you don't say, oh, this is entrepreneur woman, this is not. That's not the way it works. It's universal. Everybody is. And now it works out very well. So it's a universal practice. And I said, everybody is an entrepreneur and everybody brings their creative capacity to take care of themselves and contribute to the society. Now, the reason I'm saying that, suppose for a second, suppose all human beings became entrepreneurs. Will there be wealth concentration? No, it will be gone. Why? Because I pick up my own wealth. I don't become hired gun for anybody. Today, wealth concentration is possible because I work for him, the guy who makes the money. I work for him. I'm this hired gun. I give my life. I give sweat for him so that he can make money, and he gives a tiny little piece for me so that the good retirement benefits or a good salary, promotions, etc., etc. And I'm very happy with that. I give out everything. I don't even want to think in my own way. I think in your way. Whatever you want me to think, I think that way. That's the root of the wealth concentration, because I work for them. If I don't work for them, there'll be no wealth concentration. So entrepreneurship is a key to the whole thing. And suddenly today, if you look at the whole world population, we talk about $2.50 people, $3 people. If you come to the $5.50 people, and half the population of the entire world, including your world, entire world, half the population of the entire world is under $5.50. That's about it. And you go to $100 per day, how many people? Again, many people, but smaller than what we have, $5.50. It becomes small. But by the time you get $1,000 a day, you get very small number. By the time you get $100,000 a day, there are people like that, $100,000 a day, they are very small, rare. So all the wealth is there, out there where there people are not there. So you have the dense population at the bottom of the map, in the graph. You have the dense wealth in the top of the graph that you made on the income level. So there's a big gap between the people and the wealth. 99% of the people are at the bottom, 99% of the wealth at the top. So this is the thing that which keep them separate and make all the world problem worse and worse. They say, well, it's still poverty is reducing. People will say, oh, poverty is reducing. Of course it's reducing. Reducing from what? From $2.50 to $2.75. That's the reduction from $3. To get to the $5.50, they will have several generations to get there. So this is the kind of, this is only few dust which is falling from the sky, which makes this few people to get a little bit. The real wealth, it doesn't come here. Real wealth goes into concentration and concentration and concentration. I said the solution, if you have real economics, the real economics should give us a solution where the wealth and the people will converge. They will live together, not in isolation like that. In the North Pole, all the wealth. In the South Pole, there's nothing. On the people. South Pole is the people, North Pole is the wealth. That is not a sustainable world. This is the point I was making. In order to head that, you have to change the wealth concentration, banking's entire financial system, and the concepts about the job and about the entrepreneurship. And that's what we have to teach in our classroom. Economics has to taught in a different way. Then you talk about the social business, the one I was trying to hit you, that there are two kinds of business, not one kind of business. Today is only one kind of business, selfish business. Business to make money for myself. Maximization of profit, that's what we are drilled into our head in our schools in economics. Maximization of profit. Who says so? Because economists tells us that human beings are driven by self-interest. I said economists never tell that human beings are driven by self-interest as well as collective interest. That collective interest part was never entered in economics. I said, that's a shame. That's what created all the problem. So as a human being, I'll be doing both. I'll be creating business to make money. There's nothing wrong with that, but not to harm people, not to harm the planet. Not the way is current business is going, because current business is dedicated to creating all the problems that I said, global warming, wealth concentration, and artificial intelligence and all that problem that we said. So we have to be responsible business as a personal business, but at the same time, we can create social business to solve the problem of global warming, environment, and healthcare, and water, and all the things, plastics, all the things that we have been doing. That is the subject of social business. I don't want to make money, but I want to solve the problem. That's where the social business comes. Every young child, every young person in college, in your school, when they will be taught about this, he or she will be thinking, what kind of social business I'll be making? That's where the creativity comes. This is the problem I hate, and I have to solve that problem. And I have to design a social business while I'm in school, because I don't have to wait to finish my school to start a social business. Because social business is an idea. It's a creative thing. It's not about making money for myself. So that I come with a creative thing and make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, since of the because of the pressure of time and the intense amount of questions we are receiving, we will now resort to the strategy of us reading out the questions. We hope it will go a bit more efficiently. So Nick Danziger is asking, what about the millions of people who are not entrepreneurs, but salaried people who are victims of loan sharks?
Well, you've gone the wrong way. You became a job seeker. So you have to, whatever level of you are, say, this is still time. You can be an entrepreneur. Entrepreneur could be any time. You could be while in high school, you can be an entrepreneur. You could be college, you can be, or if you have no education, you're on the street child, you still can have an entrepreneur. All you need is financing. The people work for others because they don't have the money. And bank never give you the money. Like, to give you an example, in your school, probably, I don't know what happens in your school in Atlantic, but in many of the schools, the people from the companies will come, promote their company to hire you and explain how good job they have waiting for you in this company and so on, so that they can pick up the best of the students. I said, it always happens. It's a common thing in the campuses. I said, how come no bank comes into the business, schools and say, if you are an entrepreneur, here's the money waiting for you. These are our terms and conditions. You come up with a business idea, we'll be behind you. Here's the contact point. You tell us, we'll continue to work together. While you are finishing your school, we can work together with your business idea. And by the time you are finished, or even before you are finished, you can invest and go on. How come? Because banks are not interested in you. Banks are interested in the big guys who, with one check, they can get billions and millions of dollars transacted and so on and so forth. They're not interested in pretty little money that you'll be asking for. So this is the direction, this is the wrong idea, wrong way of designing the banking system. So this is what happens. Once we address those issues, then this issue will be solved, because we have entrepreneurship is built into us. It's nothing new. Throughout the entire human history, we have been entrepreneurs. When we are in the caves, we're not sending job applications to anybody. We wanted to be gatherers, hunters, go-getters, and that's what we are. We are problem solvers. We are not just taking orders for somebody else. That's a misdirection of you. This is an enormously damaging thing for human being, to take orders for somebody else for survival, while other options were never utilized. Entrepreneurship.
All right, thank you so much. The next question we have is from Atlantic College current students who are watching together from the Lighthouse building. And it is, you have told us about the way banking should work to lift communities out of poverty, but what should the state's role be in doing so? And is there a specific development pattern that you think is best?
Well, I'll just, to the extent of banking and the role of the government, that's what I was limit myself. I had a broader ideas about the role of government, but I'll talk about the bank. I said there is a law called banking law, which guides all the banking practices in the country. That emerges from that banking law, which is adopted God knows when. And that restricts or opens up opportunities for banks everywhere. And it's same every country. They have a banking law. I said, what the banking law has done, it has created a bank for the rich. Because the law is the one which helped us doing that. But they never thought there could be a law to create bank for the poor. You know, when you talk about Grameen Bank, which our bank, the Grameen Bank, we had to create, go to the parliament, get a resolution passed, a law passed to create bank for the poor, which we call Grameen Bank. All the rules are different. Because under the existing banking law, you cannot create Grameen Bank. Because as I said, our Grameen Bank is the defiance of all the banking rules. We don't take collateral, we focus on the women, we focus on the villages, we focus on the poor, and all kinds of things, which is not what the banking system will tell you. They will make it compulsory that you have to take collateral, do this and do this, and you make it concentrated in the cities, etc., etc. So I said we should be designing a new law for the bank for the poor. And that additional thing that I'm adding in the legal point of view, make absolutely in the law, this will be social business micro-entrepreneurial bank, not just micro-entrepreneurial bank, but social business micro-entrepreneurial bank. Because our experience is, even if you have created a bank for the poor people, it can become a loan shark, giving the money to the poor people to extract money from them. So you open the door for the facility for them. I said, no, we don't want to do that. Grameen Bank was born as a social business bank, not a regular bank that you see. The moment you cut off the money-making idea from the bank, they devote itself as a social business to the poor people and help poor people move up and their children move up. All the facilities, all the venture capital, all the investment money, all kinds of financial tools that you have so that you help people grow up. There shouldn't be any word called unemployment. Unemployment is an artificial word because nobody is unemployed because I'm born as an entrepreneur. So how can I be unemployed? All I need a facility so that I can expose myself as an entrepreneur. So unemployment is a creation of the false notion or the false concept of employment. The day you discovered the word employment, you created the problem of unemployment. If you didn't have that word employment, we wouldn't have that problem with unemployment because we'll be all entrepreneurs. We don't have to go on subsidies, pay on government checks every month to people who cannot have this life for themselves because they don't have jobs. I said, this is an artificial situation. You're not addressing the real issue. These are entrepreneurs, you lock them up under the system. Open it up. Finance, give them the finance. They said, it cannot be done. I said, it can be done. It can be done. This is what I've shown all over the world. So this is not a problem, but nobody wants to do that.
Thank you so much. And we'd like to ask one last question.
Go ahead.
It's actually a group of questions. We received multiple questions talking about education.
I'll try.
And so you said that the purpose of education is finding purpose. So there were multiple questions about how do we educate people to find that purpose, that positive purpose, and how do we define the positive?
Yeah, quickly. I would say just a suggestion. I said, suppose we introduce this idea of a purpose, finding purpose. In every year in our school, beginning from our kindergarten school, every year we get together, what is the purpose of our life? All the kids together, what is the purpose of our life? They will have fun, this, but gradually you come to the junior high, senior high, and you still do the one week of your year, discussing what is the purpose of my life and share with my friends in the class. And at the end, a collective decision, this is the purpose of our life. Within that, I have a variety. I have a different one, but we have consensus here. So we can think about what is the purpose of life. And then you can add another piece to it. What kind of world we'd like to build? Raise this question and debate in 1 week time and make a piece of paper that, yes, this is the kind of world we want. By the time you come out of the school, you have a general idea what kind of world you want because you have a discussion. So if somebody wants to do something else, you say, no, that's not what we want. We want the world like this, not like this. Today, I don't have that. The education system never encouraged me to discover that. So what a politician says, that, oh, that sounds good. Another politician says, oh, that sounds good too. Because I have no idea. I just drift around. I'm a drifter. I don't want to be a drifter. I want to have my own idea. I want to imagine that world. I want to have all kinds of imagination. And I focus on imagination. I said universities, schools, colleges has focused on imagination. They are too fact-oriented. Fact is fine, but imagination is the power. Fact comes later. I said, science fiction, I admire science fiction because science fiction gives people ideas, imaginations, and science gradually follows those imaginations. If science fiction was not there, many of the science discoveries would not have happened. But now that I see it on the screen all the day, I get excited. Why not? Maybe we can do something like that. Try that one. That was a very interesting idea. Anyway, I said, unfortunately, we don't have a series of social fictions. We have science fiction, not social fiction. What kind of society we want? What do we do? What kind of world it would be if everybody was an entrepreneur? It's a social fiction. Build a social fiction. What kind of world it would be if there was no wealth concentration? Make a social fiction. Do that. We don't do that. No, we just put some equation, say equation doesn't agree, so we don't do that. That's not the world is. World is about ideas. I keep emphasizing nothing is impossible for human being. If you imagine it, it will happen. If you don't imagine it, it will never happen. So imagination is the power. That imagination power is taken away from students. They're made so practical. Nothing is left on them. So we have to put imagination at the top of the business. That this is the imagination. Imagine, it will happen. If you don't imagine, it will never happen. So we do have to make it happen. And I can imagine, I can tell people that I imagine a world of 3 zeros. That's my imagination. And I want to make it happen. 0 net carbon emission in that world, the world that I want. 0 net carbon emission, 0 wealth concentration. And that's my dream. And 0 unemployment. Because artificial intelligence is coming to make 100% unemployment. I want to make 100% employment. So this is the 3-0 world that I want. That's it. You have your own imagination. Make your imagination. If you don't make imagination, it will never happen.
All right. Thank you so much for your questions, everyone. And thank you, Professor Yunus, for your time.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure having you here.
Thank
we will
you.
now move on to the second part of our talk, a presentation from Lighthouse. Professor, we are aware of the differences in time zones, and you are completely welcome to log off. However, if you have the time, we would be more than happy to have you stay and hear from the UWC Atlantic's Lighthouse program.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me with you. I hope we'll keep in touch. We have to make it happen.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you so much, Elsa and Oscar, for moderating. And thank you so much, Professor Muhammad Yunus, for all this fantastic talk and the inspiration, insights. And thank you so much for your time. As Oscar has mentioned, we are moving on now to the second part of today's event, where we would briefly present the new Lighthouse initiative at UWC Atlantic. As I mentioned, my name is Ula Adamska, and I'm a Lighthouse coordinator here at the college. And I'm also a graduate from a sister school. I have graduated from UWC Mahindra College in 2016.
And I'm Lachlan Atack. I'm the other Lighthouse coordinator, and I attended UWC Maastricht, and I also graduated in 2016. So yeah, we'd like to take a couple of minutes to briefly give an overview of what Lighthouse is, and then open up the questions. So really, Professor Yunus we couldn't have asked for a more perfect base really for how we want to introduce Lighthouse to all of you, because Lighthouse really began from the very beginning from a student in this college at UWC Atlantic, having that imagination of what they want the world to look like. And this student, Francois, who just graduated a year ago, Francois really thought that there was a need, there was a gap at UWC Atlantic in particular, but in the world, of course, in general, for empowering students, really giving them the support that they needed to realize their entrepreneurial ambitions. So Francois has worked on this project for a year, and now Ula and I have been here full-time on campus, on the beautiful campus here, since early October in 2020. So what actually does Lighthouse do and what makes it different? Well, really what we do is precisely what Professor Yunus has kind of been outlining, like the importance of promoting creative confidence and this imaginary power in students to really realize their entrepreneurial potential and to understand the connection between individual agency and the role that plays in meaningful change making, but also, of course, the structural context in which that happens and the inextricable links between individual agency and structural issues. So really, we kind of try to promote to students the importance of understanding these issues and this connection, but really put an emphasis on being action-oriented and making tangible changes in their home communities or with the Atlantic College community here. And one specific way that we're trying to do that is using the framework of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals as our kind of point of reference for what meaningful change making can be and what meaningful change making actions should be able to be aligned with. So in a sentence, Lighthouse is the one-stop shop for students at UWC Atlantic who want to realize their entrepreneurial potential and be meaningful change makers.
Okay, so how do we actually do it? What does it mean that we're an on-campus center for meaningful change making? So we provide students with support and guidance here on campus, and we can say that we're working with two categories of students. So we have student mentors who are peer mentors, and they have been trained in different project management techniques, and they're quite familiar with the Lighthouse project incubation process. And then they act as mentors for other students, for their peers who have their own Lighthouse projects. And that's the second category of students with whom we are working. So those are Lighthouse project leaders who are spearheading different projects either here on our campus or in their home communities, or could be anywhere in the world. At this moment, we have about 24 projects that are officially registered with Lighthouse, and there are different at various stages of development, and they tackle many different issues around the world. So, for example, we have a project called UWC Tutoring Initiative, where a group has started a tutoring initiative to increase access to English level education in Indonesia. There is 24-hour race. That would be the first 24-hour race in Wales and in Europe that would hopefully happen on our campus in March. There is a foundation that hopes to tackle menstrual poverty in Bangladesh. There's a student starting a microloans in Zambia, or there's a student hoping to create an open access to previous extended essays or EE research done by AC students. Great news is that two projects have been launched just this past week, and they're spearheaded by current first-year students. So EcoCity is an app, mobile phone app, entirely built by our students who are hoping to encourage sustainability, and they're using principles of gamification and trying to make it fun to encourage students to either create eco breaks or attend various sustainability events on campus and compete who would be most sustainable here on campus. As well as the second project that has launched in this week is We See, which is Women Empowerment and Education Program. So we as coordinators and as mentors, we provide those students with relevant resources on the issues their projects are tackling. We train them and support in project management, and we connect them with experts and mentors whenever possible. And I think it's worth saying that most of the mentors are alumni of this college. We also provide those students with funding opportunities. So in December this past year, we launched Lighthouse Project Grant, where we accept applications on a rolling basis for students to basically develop their ideas or develop their projects. And they can win up to £400 to just prototype, test, build, experiment, just figure out different solutions for different issues they might be interested in tackling. As well as right now we are designing a pitch opportunity that hopefully will be happening every spring that would allow students to pitch their projects to win seed funding to actually implement their ideas. And we are just trying to support those projects throughout. And I think something worth mentioning is that we have 4 basic requirements that must be met before the projects receive any support from us. And we can say those are 4 main pillars of any Lighthouse project. So each project has to involve at least 1 current UWC Atlantic student. There must be a sincere commitment to change making. Each project, we ask them that they engage with the UN Sustainable Development Goals and involve social entrepreneurship. And yeah, we're just here to support those students, be present, be available, be supportive, and committed to making those ideas actually turn into actions.
So in addition to supporting students who run projects directly, we also do more general work on campus to promote awareness and understanding of our definition of meaningful change, which, yeah, I really can't stress enough how much it aligns really and resonates with what Professor Yunus was saying earlier. So we do things like send out a monthly newsletter to the whole student population about funding opportunities that, you know, around the world, as well as our specific funding opportunities. We also send them relevant, kind of easily digestible resources on entrepreneurship. We're also running, as you're aware, we're running a talk series this spring on dimensions of meaningful change making. And the idea with this talk series is to really move beyond using change making just as a buzzword, which it's kind of often tempting to just get into that, and really engage with it and analyze it and see what actually does this mean. So we're inviting several alumni and a couple of parents of current students at UWC Atlantic to give short sessions to our students on that topic. We're also coordinating very closely with the Changemaker curriculum to see how we can best complement the fantastic work that's being done on that in the kind of academic context, because we were kind of in the extracurricular context of the college. And then we also explore possibilities for partnerships with complementary organizations and groups. So be that internally on campus, so making sure that we're working in harmony with all of the existing amazing initiatives on campus, but also externally. So seeing if there's organizations, be they kind of UK based or international, that could really fit into the Atlantic College ecosystem as well.
Okay, so what are our plans for the upcoming weeks and months and for the rest of the term? So as Lachlan has mentioned, we just launched the Dimensions of Meaningful Change Making series that will be happening till the end of March. We are exploring partnerships with different organizations. We're still refining our Lighthouse model at UWC Atlantic, so there's lots of iteration going on, and we keep iterating to make it better and more accessible to students. We are still trying to find out how to best embed and integrate Lighthouse into UWC Atlantic ecosystem. We are coordinating different student organizations. For example, recently we started collaborating with SASTEC, co-curricular club here on campus, and we're trying to create formal links with other councils and activities. We continue supporting students' projects, and we're designing a Lighthouse Day or festival and teaching opportunity in late spring this year.
And so in the longer term, kind of looking beyond this term and the next few months, what we'd like to do in particular is formalize how alumni can support current students in the college in realizing their entrepreneurial potential, as well as kind of align a lot of the work that the college does already with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. We also would like to look at integrating Lighthouse more into the UWC movement once we kind of have a robust model on campus here at Atlantic College, be that kind of working with other colleges or with the international office. We also need to establish the legal status, or establish what the best legal status of Lighthouse could be, so that it kind of maximizes its potential good. And also what we're really keen on is using Lighthouse as the means or the vehicle through which we can look at connecting with local community and the local context of the college even more. So that's a very quick overview of what we do here at Lighthouse and what we're looking forward to doing in the future. Thanks so much for staying on to listen, and we'd welcome any questions in the 10 or 15 minutes or so remaining.
Hello again. Elsa and I will be moderating the coming questions once more. We would quickly like to introduce ourselves, as we are also both Lighthouse project leaders. I, for one, along with 3 other second-year students at Atlantic College, am the leader of a student podcast called Between Codes, in which we voice the opinions and experiences of members of the UWC Atlantic community. And we will be recording our first podcast on Friday, and it should be out on Spotify soon.
And so hello again, my name's Elsa. I'm a second year and I am a leader of a project called GASP, which is an acronym for Global Action Sustainability Program. And we are a project of 8 students who created a educational workshop about climate change with an emphasis on climate activism and collective change. And because of Corona and because of our inability to develop this workshop in person, we are now working on a partnership with an educational platform called Canopy Lab to develop an online course.
And the first question we have is, how are you going to involve alumni in your Lighthouse initiatives?
So yeah, that's a great question. So the short answer is, at the moment, to contact the PB department at the school, and then we kind of act as the middle people between the PP department at the college and the students, and then we kind of figure out what the best way is to kind of share your expertise and your experience with the students. So that would be what we'd recommend at the moment. It's also, yeah, it's worth mentioning, we have several alumni already kind of directly involved with helping students. Some are going to be mentoring particular projects that are particularly well developed, kind of directly through mentorship. Obviously, the alumni who will be speaking. And of course, we also should mention that the reason that we're able to kind of expand and have the capacity to really establish Lighthouse on campus is through the support and very generous financial support through a donation from an AC alum as well. So yeah, do you have anything to add to that, Lula?
No, yeah, if you're interested in supporting Lighthouse and getting involved in any way, please do get in touch. Either email the philanthropy department here at the college, or Magda Joshi has just posted her email address in the chat box, so you can just copy it. You can let us know what you're interested in, what's your area of expertise, and what we're doing here. We're just basically matchmaking students projects with alumni and experts. So if you're interested in getting involved, please do get in touch.
I can quickly take, I think Francesca had a related, Francesca and Giuliano had a related question to this. It's a really good question. Do we find the UWC Hub useful in identifying alumni with specific skills? Again, the short answer right now is, to be honest, we haven't been focusing on the UWC Hub yet. We obviously know that's an incredible resource that an UWC is lucky to have. What we're trying to do, because this is the first full year that we have of developing Lighthouse, is making sure that we have our own house in order, so to speak, in terms of making sure that our relationships with other initiatives on campus here kind of are running smoothly, making sure that we are kind of communicating directly with the PP department, and that we kind of refine that relationship first. But I mean, we of course, at the kind of nearest opportunity, would look to other resources offered by other UWCs as well.
And we haven't been using UWC Hub yet, but we use another internal platform that we have at the college here. It's Atlantic Connect. So we've started being active there, and we might post more information about projects there.
So we have a question from a student from Dasha, and she's asking if a project about the educational system not connected to sustainability can participate in the competition for the grant. So Ulla Lachman, if you want to take it.
Yeah, another great question. So yeah, the short answer is absolutely. And that's a nice way to highlight that our approach with supporting student projects is basically, we say yes to any project idea that approaches us. We don't have like a selection process, so to speak, with students' ideas. What we want to do is encourage students basically to really follow that entrepreneurial spirit, right? And whether that means, maybe that means in our initial meetings or when we pair them up with student mentors, that means that they really refine that idea. Or maybe it means because one of the first things that we recommend to all students who approach us is, are you sure that there's a need for this project, right? And even if they can benefit from that, right, and they go and do some research through conversations with ourselves, realize actually, maybe there isn't a need for this idea I had, but maybe there's a need for a similar thing. That's so valuable as well, right? Like I think that's almost as important, right, in terms of the educational value of the work that we're doing. But yeah, the short answer is absolutely.
Question. If anyone has any further questions, please drop them in the chat now. And if we don't receive questions in the upcoming 10 or so seconds, we'll be wrapping up our talk.
We have another question. What's the AV size of seed money requirements? Average size.
Yeah. Average size seed money. I guess if the essence of the question is like what's the kind of number in terms of the money that we can offer, there's no set number in terms of the seed money. We want to kind of emphasize, we have the grant application process is up and running, and that's been established. I think our deadline for this month was yesterday. We have 4 applications from projects, which we're really excited to review over the coming days. For the more significant funding, we of course want to make sure that we establish that in the correct way as well, rather than kind of rush that through. So we're not sure exactly about requirements yet.
And yeah, what we're taking into account are definitely the needs of each particular project, as well how to best distribute the funding that we have to support as many projects as possible. So we're trying to balance those different needs that we have.
Another question is, are people in Lighthouse for the full 2 years or not?
So no is the answer to that. Again, we might look at refining the process depending on how the coming months go, but for the moment, we really want to encourage any and all current students at UWC Atlantic to come to us. And I think that's the advantage. Of course, there's pros and cons of any approach or any model, but the advantage of not having a kind of rigid structure or like a rigid, kind of several month-long process for developing projects is that we're kind of available all the time to communicate with students. And I think we get the best of both worlds in that sense. Like, again, the other day, a second-year student came up to me and said, I'm interested in starting a certain project in my home country after I graduate. And I'm still able to support them in the sense that I can say, that's great. We can get you, give you the best start possible in the remaining months you have. And we can look at like alternative forms of support once you graduate as well. So I think, yeah, we get the best of both worlds through that approach.
We have a last question that is, how much donation Lighthouse wants from alumni?
The good news in response to this question is we don't want any donation, per se from alumni on average or anything at all like that. What we'd be delighted with is if alumni who had kind of the time and the capacity maybe to contribute could get in touch through the PP department, that would be fantastic. And then we can kind of take things from there. But I think that's kind of the beauty as well of what we're trying to achieve with Lighthouse. Of course, our work is only made possible through an incredibly generous financial donation from an alum, but through that incredible generosity, we're now in a position where we can kind of get the most out of the expertise and the skill sets of alumni, rather than you know, always asking for financial contributions.
Thank you so much for all of the questions. It seems like we've reached the end of our time. We just wanted to again thank you all so much for joining us here. Thank you so much to Professor Muhammad Yunus for agreeing to do this talk and for devoting this time. Thank you so much to Ula and Lachlan for introducing Lighthouse, and to Magda for coordinating and hosting this whole event. And
yes, thank you so much for coming, and we hope that you can make it to future talks similar to this.
yes, have a wonderful Thursday, and we hope to see you in the next Atlantic in Conversation talks.